Good morning. This is February the 8th. It's just after 9 a.m. this morning, and I wanted to capture and tell of an adventure that my wife and I went on with God this weekend. It was quite adventurous. So, we were about to come over here to our little cabin that we have. That's about 20 minutes from where both her and I work. And on the way here, I send my wife Michelle a text message saying, "Do you want to go somewhere?" She was ahead of me a few minutes as far as driving goes. But and that was at 4:58, I believe, when I sent her that text message. As soon as I send the text message, God confirmed immediately. I'm talking, it wasn't 2 seconds later that God confirmed that what I had just sent to my wife was in fact what we should do. Just in an incredible way that's so hard to imagine. But nevertheless, the way I worded the text message, she thought I was talking about going out and eating. But then I sent her another text message, and then she realized that I was talking about going somewhere. That was definitely God directed, because we had no intentions of going anywhere this weekend, but staying right here in this cabin. So even though God had told us to go somewhere, He had not at that time told me where to go. So I didn't know if we were going to be going north of us, south of us, east of us, or west of us. I didn't have a clue what direction to go in. I just knew very strongly and with confirmation that He said go. And when that happened, and even as I'm sitting here, I think of Abraham. When God told him to go, he had no idea where he was going. He just knew he was going. Although my situation and my wife's situation is clearly not as permanent as what Abraham's was, but at the same time, he followed the direction of God, and I did as well in this situation. So we get here to the cabin. My wife gets in the shower, and I've got to put a bale of hay out. And I told her, be thinking about where you feel like God's directing us to go. And I will be too. So I'm getting hay, and the whole time I'm out there going, God, you told me to go somewhere, but you hadn't told me where to go. I want to follow your instructions. I want to know what you want me to do with my wife. So tell me where to go. And it wasn't even a minute later, this person's name came up in my head. And he happens to be a painter that I've never met before. And he's from the area that we ended up going to. To make a long story short, I made contact with the person that knows him, tried to get him to set up a time that we could meet, me and this painter, and he wouldn't do it. He had no interest in setting that up. You could tell he was definitely being a gatekeeper for this person. And I'm going, okay, God, if you want this to happen, it's going to be on you, because I've made the contact that I know, and it's still not happening. So I'm not real sure why this is going on like this, but nevertheless, we packed and we set out going in that direction. And had no clue what we were going to be doing. I just knew that we were going to be going to that area. And, a lot of times God will give me and my wife directions, or both of us. And in this case, I told her where I thought we needed to go. And then she says, that's exactly where I felt we needed to go as well. And I was just like blown away by that, by the way. It was just so incredible that we're in the same kind of thought process, trying to discern which direction physically we're supposed to go for the weekend. And we come up with the same place. So we get to our hotel that we had called ahead and seen if we could get there. And or we could stay there, Go in, check in, stay overnight, because we got in there kind of late. It was well after 10 o'clock, 11 something when we arrived. So this was like a 4-hour trip, and we leave at the last minute. We took 30 minutes to pack a few things. We didn't even have a suitcase. We honestly didn't even have a suitcase. We had a clothes basket with a broke handle that we packed our stuff in. and hit the road. Talking about not being prepared. Oh my goodness. We were not prepared to go. Because the suitcase is over at the other farm. And we only had the clothes that we had here to be able to to go with. Otherwise, we'd have to go back to the other farm, get clothes, and then go, which would have been another hour and a half at least in doing that. But anyway, we get to the hotel, check in, go to our room, and they put us in room 219. Get up the next morning, go to eat breakfast, and the lady that was working there to put out the food and make sure everything was good for the guests there was a lady that was 69 years old. Her name was, I'm not going to share her name just for privacy purposes. And me and her struck up a conversation. All right, she started talking to me, and then I just started talking back to her. And because of what she said, initially, I knew that God was all in this conversation that was starting. And that's not the first time that's happened. You know, I have felt before many times that God has directed me to a certain location, and I have no idea who it is that God is wanting me to speak to. But they end up bringing up things that I know is God inspired to put those thoughts in their head to be able to share with them of who God is and how He wants to have a relationship with them like He does myself and my wife. In this case is no different with this lady. So I end up sharing with Michelle. I end up sharing about how God has worked through our lives and how He speaks so directly to us, and how much He is wanting to see our obedience, and if we're willing to listen to Him, even though we have our own agenda, are we willing to change that agenda to follow Him in any given moment of any given day? Just like I had no plans of going anywhere over the weekend except for our little cabin. And on the way here, He changed those plans. So I guess my wife and I spoke to this lady for, over an hour, standing there, sharing about God. It was just incredible, of her talking about God and us sharing about God and how we've experienced, what she's experienced and what we've experienced as well. It was just a really good conversation. So we end up going back to our room and still not knowing any direction on what we're doing or why we're there. And we get a shower. Since we got there late, we didn't shower, but we got a shower. And then just made the decision to stay there another night because it was almost checkout time by that point. So we called down to set that up, and the person that my wife to set that up with, and so forth. So we leave, and by this time we're getting hungry for lunch. So we decide to, I said, I want barbecue. So we decide to go in a direction, and the place that we had chose was not after getting there, didn't look like a very favorable area to be in. So we decided that we didn't want to go there. And ended up right back where we were almost. It wasn't, I guess it was probably 15 minutes from where we were staying. And we ended up going in there, getting our food, and one of the girls that was working there after we had finished our meal starts a conversation with me as I'm putting our trash up. Just starts talking to me. Well, within just a few minutes, her manager, she brings up God. And I was like, okay, God, I'm here. What do you want me to do? And we end up, Michelle and I end up talking to these two ladies for, we were there 2.5 hours, 3 hours. That's including our time that we were eating. And after we leave there, there's a little cookie place that we were wanting to try when we came into the parking lot. Go in there, and a guy that's waiting on some, I guess it was cookies. He was waiting on something that had placed his order before us. He made a comment and told us what he likes as far as the type cookie. And of course my wife likes the same kind, so we end up getting several of those cookies. And briefly talk about God there while he's waiting on his whatever it is that he's waiting on. So we end up just kind of goofing off over the next 4 or 5 hours, just hanging out, spending time together, doing stuff together. Nothing that's important to this video making anyway. And we go to Chick-fil-A. You can see our hotel from it, to get some food through the drive-thru. And as we're getting our food, my wife takes a picture of a sign, and being 50 years old now, I now need glasses or contacts, and I have gone to the eye doctor. I just hadn't got my glasses yet, so I couldn't see what she was talking about. It was just a little fuzzy. But she had seen 666, which is just really incredible, because every time that her eye sees 666, it's a warning about something. Something that usually happens within sometimes minutes or up to 2 or 3 days in the future. I guess the best way to explain that is the more times we see it in a very short period of time, we know it's something that's more significant, or could be damaging, it could be hurtful, whatever it is that you want to say there. So we go in the hotel. We both have our Bibles, because we always take our Bibles with us. So we got our food, we got our Bibles, and she's got her purse. Our arms are completely full. Go upstairs to our room. Key doesn't work. And I'm going, oh man. So I tell her I put our stuff down. I said, just wait here. I'll go get the key redone so that we can go get in the room and eat. So I go downstairs. I tell the girl there that I need the key made. She tells me to put a mask on. And I say, no, I'm not going to put a mask on. And basically ends up, to make this part shorter, because I wouldn't put a mask on, she wouldn't give me a room key. And all of our belongings are in that room. She ends up calling the manager, and I said, either give me a key or give me my money back. And she was wanting to give me a partial refund. I said, no. I said, I want a full refund, because this is way uncalled for. I've already been here, hadn't had a mask on, and now all of a sudden, because I need room keys, you're going to make a big deal about this. And that we've already been staying in this room. And I said, I want a full refund. She said, I can't do that. I'll call my manager and see what she says. So she calls the manager and says for her to give me a full refund. So we end up leaving there over me not wanting to put a mask on, to be able for her to take 2 seconds to fix the code this room key so I can go to my room and be in there for the rest of the night. And that was just so incredible that, and I fully believe right now, and my wife does too, that, hotels and everywhere has all kind of cameras and all that kind of stuff. And they saw, after I had shared with the lady that worked there about God, I fully believe that someone got offended by that, and they were going to make a point of us not being able to stay there because of not wearing the mask. So we get all of our stuff, we pack it all up. We still hadn't ate yet. We pack all of our stuff up quickly and go check out. And at this particular moment, I'm not sure if they've refunded the money or not, but they said they were going to, and so forth. And the lady said, good luck on trying to get another room somewhere else without wearing a mask. And I'm just like going, seriously? I didn't say anything, but I just find that comical. And I've always said, whether you want to wear a mask or not, if we were supposed to wear a mask through all of this stuff, God would have given us a mask to physically wear when we were born. So it doesn't make sense. God gave us everything that our body needs. Before we were born, it was developing inside our mother. Our bodies were developing exactly the way it needs to be for us to survive on this earth. Until God tells us it's time to leave this earth, we don't need a mask to be able to do that. Anyway, we go to the first hotel, and as we're about to pull into the drive of this hotel, there's a real estate sign that's just in front of us on a piece of raw land. And guess what the number was? The part of the phone number. It had 777 in it. And we immediately knew this is where we need to stay. We go in there, walk in, and it takes a guy, because, it's 10 o'clock at this point on Saturday night. So we end up going in there, and the guy comes out of wherever he was without a mask on. And I was like, yep. We end up staying there and get up the next morning and go eat breakfast, hit the road, and we make a decision to, I said, let's go eat at this certain little town. And she's like, okay. So she starts looking up in this, and by the time we got there, we were just kind of goofing off along the way. Didn't really have anything that we were going to be particularly doing, but we were just heading back in the direction of home. And by the time that we were going to be getting to the area that we are talking about. It was just going to be just after lunchtime because we didn't get up really early. Because by the time we had gotten to the room, we still had to eat. We hadn't even ate our sandwiches and stuff that we had gotten at Chick-fil-A 2 hours earlier, or an hour and a half, something like that, whatever it was. Could have been just an hour. Wasn't really paying attention to that, but anyway, she looks up the where to eat at in this town, and she finds a place that we had stayed at, had ate at when we had taken another trip, and it happened to be the same kind of restaurant, and we really liked what we ate there, so we decided to go there. So we end up going there, or we're on our way there, and I said, maybe we should go somewhere else. And I hadn't even hardly got that thought out of my head, and God shows me a 9:19, which is Numbers 9:19, and that verse says, as long as the cloud stayed over Israel, they didn't set out, they didn't break camp. They continued to doing what they were already doing. So in other words, whenever I see that 9:19, after saying something or thinking something or praying something, and I see that, God immediately is telling me, nope, don't do that. That's not going to be what I want you to do. So we both realized that we're supposed to go to this town and to this restaurant. And we go in there, and immediately our server starts cutting up with us. And we just find that so fascinating, because a lot of times that happens with us, and you just go, man, that's so crazy. So we end up sharing God with her and how He's dealt with us through some stuff, and He's wanting us to listen to Him and so forth. Well, we get finished there, and we start on our way again, and I try to call my girls that I haven't seen. Let's see, 3 of them. Let's see. I haven't seen January the 13th. We saw 4 of them on video, and the fifth one we saw for less than 2 seconds, and the video cuts off. And I send my ex-wife a text message saying, hey, I was trying to see all 5 girls, and the one that we didn't get to see, we only saw for 2 seconds. Have her call me back so we can see each other. And that never happened. That was on January the 13th. So January 26th was my 50th birthday, and prior to that, I had not seen any of the girls on video. That the judge in our custody dispute has over and over and over, 3 times actually, ordered for my ex-wife to allow us to see each other, my 5 little girls and myself, to see each other through this, because I haven't seen them in person since March 18th of 2020 at this point. So Um, we let's see, I saw two of them on video on my birthday, and I asked to see the other ones, but we're not able to. And until last night, as we had gone into a convenience store and was in there for a few minutes, we come back out and I saw where they had called, because I had previously called to try to talk to them. So I was able to talk to and see the one that I didn't see on January 13th, but I did see on the 26th. She gets on the phone and is cutting up and smiling and having a good time with us, and we're joking and all of that. And I saw my oldest child on video, but she wouldn't talk. She just was playing a video game on her phone and watching TV. And my middle child was on the floor in the room there, and she was watching TV and so forth. She saw that we were on video, but she didn't talk either. And the two youngest ones, I never saw them last night. Why am I bringing that up in this video? Guys, I hadn't seen any of these kids. Gosh, the 26th through the 8th is what, almost 2 weeks, roughly. And I hadn't seen them since then. So that's what, today's the 8th, yesterday was the 7th. So like 10 days. I hadn't seen any of them, and I had tried several times to call and send text messages to my ex-wife, let me talk and see them on video, like the judges over and over and over and over ordered for her to do. And even prior to my birthday, I was still asking the same thing. So why am I bringing that up? I believe, and this just hit me a while ago, that God wanted to see how obedient that I was on Friday. This is just so incredible of the insight that God gives me sometimes. God wanted to see how obedient that I was going to be in following His directions on Friday. And I did what I feel like that He asked me and my wife to do on Friday and over the weekend. Every time that He asked us to do something, we did it. And because of that, He gave me a reward. And get to see 3 of my girls that I hadn't been able to see in almost a month. Two of the ones that I saw last night that didn't talk to me, but I got to see their faces. I hadn't seen since January the 13th, when they were laughing and cutting up with me, my wife, and our son. So God gave me just that little bit of hope and faith in the reward of as a dad that wants to dearly see his children. Whew. And that has been separated from them since March 18th of 2020, and not able to wrap my arms around each of them and tell them I love them and that I miss them. Whew. And I realized that that was like a reward for being obedient to what he asked me to do, because the person that I went to this area to go see, I never got to see him. And I didn't understand why until last night on the way home. I was telling my wife, God just wanted to see again if we were going to listen to him and do what he said when he said do it, instead of allowing our agenda, staying at this cabin, to overrule what the invisible God that I can't see, but I have such a close relationship with, that gives me directions on when to do things and when not to do things. That's just so incredible. So this morning, I have this one devotional. I've actually got all of my Bibles here in my devotionals, and this particular one fell off of the stack as I was putting them down. So I pick it up and turn to today's devotional. And I want to read a little bit of that. This is dated February the 8th. And if you could see over here, I've written all around the margins that basically is what's happened. I just told you what's happened over the weekend. I just kind of briefly wrote those down. But if you look right there, hopefully you can see February the 7th. So this is February the 8th. And it says, the title of it is called Follow Instructions. And it's about Noah. I mean, how incredible is it that this is today's devotional after my wife and I, what most people would say on a whim, went on a trip. And that would be the end of the story. Enjoyed each other's time, went and ate a couple of places, did these things, did those things, and then that would be over with. But every bit of what we experienced this weekend was God-appointed things. The whole trip, the people that we met, me getting to see 3 of my girls on video, while only one of them would talk to us, though, as a reward, I feel like. And then this devotional being another confirmation that we did what we were supposed to do. So listen at this. This is the verse. This comes from Genesis 6:22. Noah did everything exactly as God commanded him. And I read that and I went, oh my gosh, we did. I said that to my wife last night on the way home. I don't know why God was wanting us to go, except He wanted to see if we were going to listen to Him once again, you know, and see if we're faithful to Him and not do what we want to do. Gosh, that is so hard for people to get. Oh my goodness. And I just underlined a couple of things in this devotion. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But it says here, good things come to men who fully and completely follow instructions. And that sentence is so spot on. You know, are we willing to actually do the instructions and follow the instructions that God gives us on a daily basis? A couple of sentences later it says, Noah left nothing to chance as he prepared himself and his family for the coming flood. He had heard God's instructions and followed them to the letter, leaving nothing undone. Gosh, that is so incredible that these words are in this devotional, and we did exactly what this is talking about right here, just on a smaller scale. What this is talking about that comes from the Bible was a 120-year process of following instructions by Noah from God. Obedience is a two-way street that flows from and produces righteousness. Noah received good things from God because he faithfully followed the Lord's clear instructions. And that's exactly what I was just talking about. Why I have said something about not seeing my girls and getting to see and talk to one of them last night and see two of the others, but not get to see two of them. God rewarded me for listening to Him and doing what He said. He gave me a reward last night of getting to see 3 of my kids on video. Ooh. And that's exactly what this just said. Noah received good things, the reward that I was just talking about, from God because he faithfully followed the Lord's clear instruction. The same can be true for you. When you follow God's instructions in every area of your life, you will position yourself to receive good things from Him. Even though it was so hard to understand why God was wanting us to go. On that, and meet the people that we met. You know, and I told my wife last night on the way home, I said, sweetheart, we could have done the same thing here without having to drive 4 hours one way to do. But God had us go talk to these people, but I told her last night, I think that it was more about, are we going to listen to Him and do what He said when He says do it? And that's clearly what this devotional is about as well. So the last thing here says, think of an area in your life in which you believe that God has given you some pretty clear instructions, whether at work, at church, in your family, or in your neighborhood. Can He say to you, as He did Noah, that you did everything exactly as God commanded? If not, what remains undone that you can begin to do today? Guys, this life is, and I'm going to stop this pretty quick. Guys, this life is about a relationship with God, but it's not a one-way relationship. He wants us to talk to Him, but He also wants us to listen to Him. And it's just like a parent. He's just like a parent to us. When you are a believer in Christ, you become God's children. What are you supposed to do that the Bible teaches is obey your parents? Is that just earthly parents? No, it's not. It's about following God's instructions, not only how, but when He says to do things. You know, if you're a parent and your child doesn't do what you want, do you not get upset? And maybe, depending on what the situation is, punish that child because of being disobedient? But at the same time, when you do, or when they do what you ask them to do, and again, depending on what it is, do you not say thank you, or good job, or something along those lines? Sure we do. And that's the same thing that God did with my wife and I, in that He saw that we were obedient and did something for the first time in our lives that of this scale, that we went somewhere without knowing where or who we were going to see or what we were going to do. We had no idea when we left the house. But we were rewarded for being obedient to the Father by getting to see 3 of my 5 little girls that I haven't seen in quite a while now. Gosh, that is so crazy and incredible at the same time to think about that, of how much He is willing to communicate with us and reward us for the things that He wants us to do, and to see that we're faithful to His leading and His instructions. Wow. Guys, I hope you have a good day, the rest of the day. And I hope that this has been a blessing to you, of telling this incredible journey that my wife and I are on. It's just so amazing. Okay, it's time to go get to work. See you guys later. Bye.